it and make an introduction.
Hello
Good
all.
evening, everyone.
This is
On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, I welcome Ms. Karthiga Durairaja, and she will speak on the topic Entropy and Agriculture, how nature works. I now request the speaker to begin. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the sweet and short introduction. So it's very nice to meet you all through this medium. Today, I am bringing to you a slightly different approach in the agricultural lean. So this is a new concept, not a new concept exactly, but this concept is very peculiar in physics and chemistry. It's more of a science, but end of the day, physics is something that we all learn, and we learn it to know more about how the world works, right? So if that is the case, why we are learning physics, as farmers and people interested in agriculture, we are expected to know how agriculture works, how this universal laws of physics and nature is applied in agriculture drilling. So that is why I'm bringing to you, I'm presenting you this concept of entropy to you. It's going to be slightly different from the other normal, usual discussions we farmers have. So let me get into this topic, and I'm very excited. This requires little attention and focus, but I'll give you, from my side, I make sure I'll give you very interesting, easy to understand examples and all that. Let us get into the subject right away. Okay, so we'll understand what is entropy first. So, see, we understand it's a law in physics. Okay, we all understand physics is part of science. Doesn't mean that that is not applicable in agricultural field, right? So this is part of a thermodynamics law. There are many thermodynamics law, but we are going to take only about the entropy, which is the second law of thermodynamics. So what does it say? So it basically says that every system in this universe naturally moves from order to disorder. Okay, so what does that mean? So I'll give you a very simple example, so which is there in the picture right now. You can see this ice. When you keep the ice in a room temperature, it tends to melt, right? It's disorient. It gets melted away. The order in the ice will start becoming to vanish. So the basic law goes something like this, right? Every system in this universe, when you leave it aside, when you do not pour in energy, give in more energy, it will tend to disintegrate. That is how nature works, right? Because every anything, okay, only when it's the gauge and then the energy is being passed. So this particular law of entropy states that always universe in anything, for example, real life examples you could know, take iron for that matter. If you don't touch it, you leave it aside, what happens? Rust happens. If you take ice, these are all the common simple examples that people use to explain entropy. I will come to the point how this entropy is applicable in agriculture. But before that, it is very essential to understand this concept of how is this when left aside, things disorient, things get chaos. Why is that? The law goes further inside. Okay, this entropy stays when left alone, things break down, they spread out and lose its structure. Imagine a building, a building which was built and nobody's using it, it tends to deteriorate, right? Imagine say in 1980, okay, that's exactly when my father built a house. When he built the house, the structure was there. We are living in the family. Very next to my house, there is another family who built a house. There is my neighbor who built a house. But then they have moved out of the town. Nobody was using it. We were simply living there. We were not doing anything to the home. But then the building structure was always in a form. It was maintained. Whereas similar building, which is built in the same period, only because nobody was living inside, started deteriorating. So this is a very fundamental nature or law of nature. Okay. So that's what it says. A hot cup of coffee, if you keep, it will tend to cool down. A sand castle erodes. You know, in desert, you build a sand castle. It just leave it alone and it erodes, right? So a field left unattended or untended turns into chaos. This is the fundamental law. Okay. So this concept of, I hope you understand what is entropy. So to beat this entropy is basically that from order, just remember, from order to disorder, you know, things become chaos. Okay. So this entropy, to resist this entropy, you must constantly put some kind of energy. Okay. Not just you, like anything for that matter. Anything that works in this universe works under this law. Okay. I hope I'm very clear, because understanding this concept is the fundamental of this presentation. That's why I'm taking some time. All right. So let's move to this next slide, where I will also explain you why it works like that. Okay. So this also brings in a very important concept of probability, statistics. Okay. I'll tell you how it is applicable. It's simple. So imagine your bedroom. It's a very simple example. This is how I understood this concept. Okay, imagine your bedroom. There is only one way of keeping it tidy. Okay, I know where my cell phone is, where my charger is, where my bed sheets, pillows are arranged. I know where in my bedroom. Okay, it is very neat and tidy. Now that is one way of arranging it, and that we call as an order. Okay, a place which is built upon with an energy, and it will be maintained. Okay, it is one of the probabilities of different ways my bedroom can be. For example, I'm being lazy. I'm eating some food. I'm leaving the cover behind. I'm like drinking the water bottle. I'm leaving it somewhere. I misplace my keys. I misplace my cosmetic bag, my personal care bag. All that I'm leaving it somewhere. Okay, just within like couple of days, my bedroom changes into a mess. Okay, now to make it in an orderly manner, I have to put an energy. That is what is entropy that we saw, that you all understood. Now, it's always easier for the room to get messy. Okay. But it is very, I want to think in terms of numbers and statistics. Okay. There is only one probability in a certain way, only if I do, the room is going to be tidy. But other than I do anything, the place is going to be messy. So I'll ask you a simple question. What is easier? To keep the room tidy is easier, or to keep the room messier is easier? Of course, to keep the room messier is easier. Okay, because there are so many ways the room can be messy. The cover can be in one corner, the cover can be in another corner, the cover can be just flying in the messy. But if in order for the room to be tidy, it can be only in a certain place, right? So in nature, to be messier is easy. So nature or the universal law always programs or moves in a direction where it has a lot of choices. it is always easier, okay, for it to be messy. So that's how the universal law works. So let's focus on presentation. So imagine your bedroom. There is only one way for it to be perfectly tidy. Okay. Everything in ways for it to be messy. There can be only one arrangement. Okay. It requires a lot of effort and energy to achieve and maintain that. Whereas disordered state, millions of arrangement is possible. Anything I can put across, keep it anywhere, it can be messy. Okay. So it happens naturally and with zero effort. Okay. Nature always drift towards a state with more possible arrangements. This is one law that we have to understand. When we want to understand farming, agriculture, getting closer to the soil, nature, ecology, diversity, this concept is something which is very important. Okay. So nature always drifts towards the state of more possible arrangements. That is entropy in action. Right. Let's move to the other one. The final explanation. Okay. Imagine a deck of cards. Okay. Imagine I arrange it in certain way, in a way where all the numbers and all the symbols in the card, in the deck of card, are arranged in a certain way. It's only one possible arrangement. Okay. For that, I have to arrange. I have to put more energy. I simply can put it on the floor. I can dismantle it, and it can form millions of combinations. It can be messy. So that's exactly what is entropy. Okay, so the shuffle a new deck, a fresh deck comes perfectly sorted. Okay, from ace to king, suit by suit, everything. It comes with the numbers and all that. That is low entropy. Okay, there is no messiness. Entropy, understand it as like the messiness, the chaos. It is less. Highly ordered, highly unlikely once, and that exact order will never return to its own. So imagine how many times I have to throw it in the floor and I arrange it in certain way that it can come back to the original order. Like the probability is so less, right? There are so many interesting scientific like in chemistry, physics, and like thermodynamics and everything. Like even an egg cracking, why it cannot crack backwards? Why that would be very too much into the entropy topic. But the chances of the arranged, the tidy order is in the probability is very, very less. That is why imagine I'm building a sand castle. The wind blows and all this, my sand castle is forming as a sand is being moved by the wind in certain way that the sand castle can be made by the wind. There is a possibility, right? The possibility is there. It is not equal to null. It is not equal to zero. But then the chance is so less. So that's exactly how this entropy works. So what we saw what is entropy, and we understood why entropy works, like why it is easier for nature to be messy and chaos, and why it is not easier for it to become in a certain order. Okay, so having this in mind, let's move to the other thing. Now, how does life works? Okay, we are coming closer to we'll finally see how agriculture works. But before that, we'll understand how this entropy is applicable to us. Okay, so your body, a plant or a tree or any living organism, or even like non-living organism, a non-living thing, all are fighting for entropy. Okay, so And it happens like constantly. Staying alive means staying organized, okay? And that costs energy. A plant to thrive, it has to spend the energy it gets in certain way that the structure is maintained and it gets its energy through the structure. Okay, that is how this works. So the energy we get it, like from the food that we eat, from the plant absorbs the sunlight, importing energy to build and repair structure. Okay, so we take in the energy, and then when we use the energy, we let out the energy in the form of heat. Okay, I'm just trying to put in a simple term, but it's not like exactly heat. It is the form of energy which is being burnt. Okay, see, when I work out, I sweat, right? My all of a sudden my breath becomes heated up. Basically, because the energy is being burned. Okay, so that's the funda. So the energy is coming in and the heat goes out. Anywhere when there's energy exchange, that happens. Okay. And when the energy goes out, every process releases waste. Okay. Waste heat, increasing entropy in the surroundings. So, in order to maintain the entropy within me, I increase the entropy around me. Okay. To put it very easily, see, I breathe out, right? In the atmosphere, the carbon dioxide is more. When I work out, I mess something else. I mess up something else for me to be in this, to maintain this energy and be in the structure. This is how the dynamics of nature is. So now, how the structure is maintained. There is a very important concept here. This will be the final understanding concept for the day. Okay. So the local order is preserved, but only by paying an energy tax to the universe. This is exactly we talked about. See, the structure is maintained, okay? But then the energy is always maintained, and I have to give off some energy in the process. I'll give you an example. There is a, see, will in very simple terms, like in very simple terms, let me explain. The sunlight is the ultimate energy giver. Okay, so the sunlight energy is being captured by the plants. It is storing the energy in a chemical form of energy, and that is being eaten by a herbivore. We all know the pyramid, right? Okay, why it is not in rectangle? Why it is in pyramid? The very reason, see, we all know about the food web, the food chain, all that, right? So we do this pyramid, right? In the bottom, there will be plants, and then herbivores, and then carnivores, and then again the humans, all that will be in the top of the pyramid. Why it is not a rectangle? Why the structure is not in rectangle? Because the number gets reduced, right? This is the reason why it is pyramid is again linked to entropy. So in entropy, so much of heat from the sunlight is being captured by the plant, and from the plant only certain amount of energy goes to the herbivores. The lot of energy is being wasted in the process. Don't think waste as waste, but as like it's been lost in the process. For the herbivores, herbivores take the 100% of the sunlight's energy. The sunlight's energy is used by the plants themselves for different purposes. So only certain amount of energy goes to the next level. And when the other next level pyramid beings consume the previous ones, only a certain amount of energy goes to them. And that's how it keeps going. So energy is, the lost energy is called the energy tax to the universe. Okay. Because some form of energy, when it is being transferred, it is being distributed, it is being dissolved in other things. Okay. This is the funda. Now let's move to the interesting part. Now we understand how the farm and how as a farmer, how am I going to look at agriculture and what I can do to enhance less entropy in my farm? That's how a farmer should approach farming. Okay, so that is a fundamental idea I'm going to present. How much time I have? I'm almost on track. So, your farm through the entropy lens. Okay, a farm is not just a place where things grow. Okay, that is the general, a common citizen's ka approach. Okay, but it is a thermodynamic arena. Okay, where there is a constant battle between structure and chaos. What is forming the structure and what is breaking the structure? This is the game, and a very important part for the stability, for the very life to happen. Important. Okay. So, every weed removed or every row planted, every irrigation cycle is you trading this energy for order. Okay. So, everything that we do should make this energy more condensed, make this energy trap into our systems. Only then there's going to be less entropy, meaning there's going to be less chaos. Okay. So, this is the idea. Now, farming is energy in the right place for the right time. Now, I'll tell you how this. So, as we discussed, the ultimate energy giver is the solar sun. Okay, so the solar input is how we get it. That's the first input that we get. Solar hits the field, the solar energy, and the most inexpensive solar panel is our plant. Okay, is each and every plant, every glass blade acts as a solar panel. So they absorb and they do this photosynthesis and convert it into starch and all that. That is a bigger science that we'll get into biology in some other session. But basically, they do the work and store the energy in a chemical form. And then the soil supports it. Okay, in order for this plant to have a structure and to capture and store this energy, a very important thing is this ecosystems. Okay, so energy flows through the roots and microbes. So it's bringing the sunlight, it's processing, and it stores. We all know the carbon equation and all that. So it again gets into the soil system, and then finally what we do, we also harvest and we get the output. Now this biomass is the ultimate product. Okay, now that biomass, are we taking it completely out of our farm, or are we again putting back into the farm? This is the game changer. Okay, so in the chemical farming, of course, the whatever is being harvested, it's been sent to the city centers and big supermarkets and all that, and the entropy is becoming so high in cities. It has become concentrated. Now, here the 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 harvest that we had. Okay, in case if you're a regenerative farmer, if you're an organic farmer, what you do, you take only the harvest, and then you give the whole biomass back into the soil. Now there is very important lens that you have to wear right now. Okay, it is called as this energy information system. Okay, so this is a little hard to grasp, but this is the final point. If you understand this, you understood everything. Okay, so the sun is the primary energy input. Plants are living solar panels, converting the chaotic sunlight into structured chemical energy. Every step in this pipeline is a low entropy investment. The energy is not being wasted, distributed, or being chaotic anywhere here. Okay, it is all like nature has planned it in such a packed way that there is very minimal energy loss. Okay, so this is the plant does, and we take the harvest. Now understand this information depth. Okay, basically everything is an information. Okay, the sunlight, the energy, it is being converted, it's stored, and that's information. And look at it like a data. Okay, the more data you have, the more knowledge you can be. Okay, and that's exactly what is happening in our farms. So the sunlight is being captured, it is all converted, but then the final information, which is the harvest, is taken to a far off place. Okay, so information depth is equal to ecosystem strength. This is the fundamental idea. Okay, in nature, information means biodiversity, soil microbes, predator-prey relationship, the genetic variety. The deeper the information, the more resilient the system is. Resilient is such a beautiful word. It's the ability to come back to, after a pushback, it's the ability to come back, like the ball you hit, and then you come back to the same place where it started. So it's a very, very important ability every humans and every living organism should have. And that is possible only with this ecosystem diversity. Okay. And when you take the information out of this system, the diversity is going to be less. And then this will eventually affect the resilience. So this is the idea that I like to present to you all. Okay. So the high information, what is a high information ecosystem? It has more diverse crops. It has more living soil. The natural pest control happens. The system self-regulates. The system self-regulates and adapts. So this is a information high ecosystem. Okay. So it can take the information, can process by itself. The intelligence can work with the information. Okay. Whereas the low information ecosystem, it's like there's just one crop everywhere. Okay. And then the soil structure is lost. It's compacted. It's less microorganisms. Chemical dependency. The system is fragile and requires constant external input. So now it can never repair by itself. It requires energy from outside the ecosystem, outside the farm. Okay, so this can never repair itself. So the resilience is lost. This is how things doesn't work in chemical farming. Okay, now the chemical farming as an information heist. So what does it exactly do? Okay, in natural systems, see, this is all something we all have been always talking, right? Nature systems, rich soil microbiome will be there, diverse crops will be there, natural pest cycles will happen, and the whole ecosystem will possess a lot of information. Okay, but then in the chemical farming, synthetic fertilizers will kill the microbes. Monoculture reduces the diversity. Pesticides erase predator prey information, shallow information. And with that information, it has high entropy. Okay, so how we can interpret this idea? Okay, so the chemical farming does not just change the inputs, it erases the information encoded over the millennia in the soil and everything. Like the huge data that is saved is being eroded, it's being demolished, it's being carried away, taken away. So the synthetic fertilizers bypass soil biology, starving microbial networks. Pesticides eliminate natural pest-predator relationship. Monoculture collapses genetic ecological diversity. The result is a high entropy system that cannot sustain itself without external energy. That is what happens with the chemical farm. Okay. So, and we have come to the final slide of the presentation. So the information deficit is the ultimate problem. Okay. So I know this for some of you, it might be little difficult to understand this as an information. Okay, like how is it this is all like how everything is information. So I'll tell you, for example, seeds are the best examples. Okay, seeds. What are seeds? They're basically data, right? That for that organism to survive, it has gathered data over millions of years and is stored. It's stored in this particular seed. Now, can you agree that this is data? Like seed is just a seed if you think about it. But there is another way of looking at it. So a seed which is not a hybrid or which is not a GMO seed, a natural open pollinated seed would know how to behave when a drought happens. It knows what to do when there is huge sunlight, when like when the weather is too dry. It knows, like it can adapt. A lot of biological behavior it can change in itself. So this is what I call as an information. Okay. So this information happens with everything, the microorganisms, the plant itself, and like everything. The microbial network is all like unimaginable information it passes. And there is this theory where humans, we have only like 5 senses, right? But plants have more senses than us. They may not have eyes, but they can see. They may not have them, they can listen to they can feel the infrared, ultraviolet, and everything. Like that's something but we cannot do. So all this information is processed in the ecology. Okay. So as a farmer, the one thing what we have to remember is this information should be recycled. That is how the forests escape this high entropy. So without interpretation, how does forest survive? Right? The forest survive because it doesn't leak out its information outside. Like everything is recycled, everything is being composted, it comes back. A log eventually turns into a seed and a new tree, right? It may take time, but it does. The loop is not open, the loop is closed. So that is how nature designs forest, to escape this high entropy. Okay. So finally, only this information leak. So every chemical input that replaces a natural process drains the ecosystem stored knowledge. Okay. The soil forgets how to heal itself because the interpretation, the interrupt, what the the way we interpret it cannot survive. The soil is nothing without its microbes, right? So it cannot do its work. And the deficit happens when a farm running on chemicals alone is information poor. It produces yields today, but borrows against tomorrow's resilience. And the solution is regenerative practices. It's all the simple organic farming techniques and things that we've been talking for so many years. Regenerative practices like cover crops, compost, biodiversity, rebuild information depth, lowering entropy, and restoring self-sufficiency. A wise farmer does not just manage crops, they manage the flow of energy and information. So this is the only thing I want you all to remember. I mean, if in this half an hour presentation, if you have to like remember something, it would be this. It would be like a wise farmer does not manage crops. Okay, he's not there to manage crops. He's there to manage the flow of energy and information that makes those crops possible. So that's it for today. This is a one perspective that I want my farmer friends and agricultural enthusiasts to see, a farm. It's a lens. This entropy is a lens that when you see through this lens, there can be so much in-depth knowledge is possible, and we can get closer to nature. So thank you, the opportunity. I'm indebted, and I hope this will reach positive people and more number of farmers and students and agriculture enthusiasts will get a different perspective from today's presentation. Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Karthika, for the wonderful presentation. I'll take up the questions now. In the meantime, can you please stop sharing the screen
I'll
so
stop
that we can see your...
sharing.
Yeah. I'll move to the questions now. Why is it important for farmers to understand how natural ecosystem functions?
because this can tremendously reduce the energy that you put into a farm. See, if we understand nature and how it works, the nature ecosystem, if you understand, you will not put your energy and do unnecessary things to interpret its flow. So I think that makes it more important than any other point for every farmer to understand how nature works. Because otherwise, what we do, it will be a chain of madness. What happens if you don't understand the natural system? We put unnecessary energy into the system. We buy seeds, we grow laboratories, we compress chemicals, we manufacture tools. Everything we do, so much of energy in this whole big chain will create a lot of energy, and then we'll come back and put it into our farm, which will eventually work against nature. So that is why I think for every farmer to understand nature is what the first step should be. It is not about growing crops. It's not about getting higher yields. It will eventually happen when you understand how nature works. So I think that's what makes it important.
Okay, I'll move on to the next question. What are the key differences between natural ecosystems and conventional agricultural systems from the perspective of entropy?
Huh. So what happens is, see, the idea is very simple. Entropy has to be less. Okay, there has to be less chaos. The information has to be stored within the our ecosystem. Traditionally, okay, what we do, we eventually, everybody had a backyard. My grandparents before that, they had multi-cropping was very common. Okay, and intercropping was even today back at my village, intercropping is very common. Okay, but a farmer in America, or a farmer in North India where he's under contract, he takes this 300 acres of corn, like 300 acres of like a monoculture. That is like, we have never done this ever in the human history, right? So this is the basic difference. Whatever we are calling regenerative, organic farming, there is nothing new in it. There is nothing new. We have been carrying this knowledge. Defaultly, we've been carrying this knowledge. We have always been using it. But right now, the problem is we are putting unnecessary energy, unnecessary effort in terms of like cost, effort as in like labor, everything we put in the system, and then we eventually destroy the soil, the very base. Whereas unknowingly, without so much of knowledge, without so much of scientific knowledge, we were always doing the right things. I mean, our ancestors were always doing the right things because they were listening to the nature. They understood the nature's ecosystem, not in terms of with notes or not in college degree or not like that, but as part of lifestyle, they've always carried this information. And I think as a more evolved species, I think we must not everything that is new is right. Sometimes the solutions can come from the old solutions, can be old. And I think education is the ability to see what is right. So I think as a species, we should move towards what is right and not what is more contemporary or what is more new. We can always, I'm not telling you have to go backwards, I'm telling we can incorporate the knowledge that we have already have without damaging the fundamentals and move forward. Yes. Yes, ma'am. I think I've come to the conclusion and I have conveyed.
Okay, I'll move on to the next question. How can farmers work with nature instead of against it to improve productivity?
Okay, simple, ma'am. It's very, very simple. We have always been doing it. Okay. The cover crops. Okay. The mulch. The compost. And finally, and the very important of everything, put back everything that came from the place. No external dependency. This is all it requires. This is how we can do more of natural farming. It all narrows down to this thing, give the feed that is being taken from the land through livestock. It can be livestock's excreta. It can be the plant biomass, the fallen leaves, all that. If anything that is generated has to close in the loop. So this is the fundamental. So compost, diversity, the diversity, intercropping, multi-cropping, all that becomes important. And the keeping the loop, keeping it a more closed loop. The more closer it becomes, more beneficial to the land. And the fundamental to this is, don't focus on many things. Correct the fundamental thing. And the fundamental thing would be the soil. Keep the soil healthy in a naturally possible way, and everything will be taken care of. The pest, because the plant has the inherent knowledge. It knows what to do when a pest eats it. It secretes different chemicals when a caterpillar eats its leaves. Like when a worm eats the leaves, it secretes a different chemical. The plant senses it. The plant knows it. All we have to do is we have to take care of the soil. If at all, see, there is basically no role other than like sowing some seeds and giving little water. The very important thing is to maintain the soil health, to be very precise, have more organic matter. The more organic matter you have in the topsoil in your farm, that is the most effective way that can help the farmers. That is, there are no shortcuts to it. This is the final mantra.
Okay. What role do microorganisms play in maintaining ecological balance in farms?
Okay, the role of microorganisms in the maintaining of
ecological balance in farms.
Okay. So this is like, if I really have to explain this, I will take so much of time, and this is my favorite subject, but I'll try to keep it very short. Okay. Soil. So we'll take soil. Soil is dirt plus this organic matter. Dirt has different compositions. All the sand, silt, and everything. But basically dirt. Okay, they are basically minerals. But what makes the soil is the microorganisms. So the plant directly is not taking anything from the soil, meaning not anything from the dirt. Everything works underground is through these microorganisms. The chain goes like this. Okay, the microorganisms. And there is a very beautiful concept, from nature. There is this beautiful concept. We all know about survival of the fittest. Okay, we all learn. In the evolution, we learned about it. But if at all there is something that we have to learn from the nature, it is something which is more important than the survival. It is this concept of cooperation. Okay, so this works something like that. Okay, the plants are there. They are under so this is the soil layer. This is your topsoil. The roots grow here, and here is the plant. Okay. Now what happens is the plant captures the solar energy that we saw in the slides, right? So soil captures the solar energy, it converts them into starch through photosynthesis, and it sends through the root, and it goes through the root, and the starch is being released slowly in the roots. Why does the plant have to do it? Because in exchange of it, the microorganisms, innumerable microorganisms, bacteria, they come and eat the starch which is released in the roots, and they stay there, and they in turn convert the nitrogen in the atmosphere, convert them to nitrates, and feed it back to the plant. So the urea that we say, the common name urea, what is urea? Urea is nitrogen. What is this? Where is this nitrogen available? So much available in the 70% of the air is nitrogen. But the plant cannot eat it. The plant cannot consume it. It has to be converted into nitrate. And that's exactly what one of the major roles that these microorganisms play. It's very essential. It's like the food. The food to the plants is being given by the microorganisms. So it is not the farmer who feeds the plant. It is not the water which is feeding the plant. Water is not the food. Water is only the conductor. The real food is actually the starch and the nutrients that the microorganisms sends through the root to the plant. So that is a very important role of microorganisms when it comes to plant life. And there are so many innumerable things the microorganisms do. They're very small in size, but without them, both in our soil as well as in our gut and all over our body, we would not be humans. So the role of microorganisms is so beautiful and so in-depth.
Okay. Now, what farming practices increase disorder in the soil ecosystem and how can they be avoided?
The first thing that destroys soil would be the tilling. Okay. See, because the soil stores the carbon. Okay. Everything. The first, the bad practice is to till the soil. When you till it, the structure breaks down. All the organisms, microorganisms, is exposed to sun, and any organism which is exposed to the sun dies. So the more you expose the soil, leave it barren, and directly sun affects the soil, the microorganisms die. And that's one of the worst, number one worst thing that we humans do. What we do? We do a lot of tilling, okay, and that breaks down the microorganisms' life. And the second worst thing what we do is we take off the biomass and we keep the place clean, the farm very clean. So we take this biomass, we put it in some other place. We harvest, we take the paddy, we take the paddy, and then it finally goes to the, we sell the paddy stalks, the hay. We sell it to a different farmer and it goes to a different place, and the biomass will not come back to the farm. And that is the second worst practice. The first practice is not to keep the soil covered, and the second worst practice is to take the biomass which is produced in the farm away from the farm. These two are the blunders that we do. And rest, the other thing is introducing the chemicals into the farm, because chemicals and microorganisms, they can never go together. They can never work together. So introducing the chemicals, and the last but not the least mistake we do is giving the pesticide. The pesticide, first of all, the pesticide is so ineffective, and second of all, the insects can always become superbugs. So these four practices, I would say, which are the top mistakes that we do. So the first one, take the biomass out, and the second one, keep the soil exposed to sun, which will kill the microorganisms, and The fourth would be introducing the chemicals inside the farm, the fertilizers, chemical fertilizers, and fourth would be the pesticides and all that. So these are the four mistakes if I have to rank, it would be that.
Okay. I'll move on to the next question. What are some simple practices that small and marginal farmers can adopt immediately to align the farming with nature?
The simple, actually, natural farming effort is actually very less. For chemical farming only, the effort is very high. You have to give more irrigation, more water. You have to pay the money and buy the fertilizers. Comparatively, natural farming is easier, but it takes time. That is the only problem. This takes steadily and slowly, you can see the result in natural farming. So, but one of the important thing you can do, okay, I'm a marginal farmer. I want to convert to natural farming. Okay, yes, I will do it. But I will start reducing my inputs, my artificial inputs first. Okay. Equally, I will give more of compost. Okay. Especially it is so beneficial, especially if you have a living organism like livestock, like cattle and all that, because they enhance the process very quickly. Okay. The compost is being enhanced if you add animal waste to it. So a lot of microorganisms are there in their gut bacteria and in their gut, and that bacteria is so beneficial to the soil. So they'll keep the loop alive. So if you have a animal, please don't sell off the animal. It's okay if it doesn't give milk. It's okay, because the cow dung is more valuable than milk itself. If at all you're trying to convert, this would be the first step. Second would be like mulch. Don't throw away any leaves. Don't throw away anything from your farm. Nothing is a waste. In nature, nothing is a waste. In forest, you cannot say this is waste. Everything becomes compost. So keep putting mulching. In fact, take leaves which are available, dry leaves which are available outside your farm, bring them, put it inside your farm. Bring sugarcane waste you can use, which is like after the sugarcane juice is taken out, the sugarcane that sugarcane waste, which lies around everywhere, and it is such a beautiful, a very very effective resource. So you can bring that back. All the dry leaves around your garden, your farm. Bring all that. There is no limit to mulch. You can put mulch how much ever you want. These two things I would say: compost and mulch. Start slowly. Don't convert overnight. It's okay. Let us reduce the input slow by slow, and then increase the natural inputs more and slowly. It's okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am. We have now completed the round of questions. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we would like to thank Ms. Karthika Durairaja for the talk and for answering the questions. This meeting.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Convey my wishes to the whole team. Thank you.
Definitely, ma'am. Thank you.